Hello everyone, and welcome to Instructional Video Production. My name is Joe Winslow, and I have the good fortune of being one of your professors this session. Dr. Bert Browning is the other one, and I'll let him introduce himself a little bit later. In this video, we're going to summarize everything you need to know to start the course. So let's go ahead and begin with the basics. Here's our contact information. Most of our communication takes place in the online discussion forums, but for confidential matters, we can be reached at the following. By the way, all this information is posted in the syllabus, so you don't need to kill yourself taking notes. Here is Dr. Browning's information, but if you want to pause for a second and jot this down, maybe this is helpful. I'm in sections D1 and D2, and Dr. Browning has responsibility for sections D3 and D4, but all of the content is commingled. All of our discussions are commingled, so you get to see everybody and all of their work and all of their comments at the same time. It is actually a lot of fun having a large commingled mega section like this. We'll have a good time, I promise, and it'll be very, very meaningful. Anyway, let's talk about the course. Obviously, you figured out by now that our course is hosted on Coastal's Moodle Learning Management System. And we're going to take a look at the course site shortly. But first, let's talk about how you're going to get support during this class. We all know how important that is. The truth is, online learning can be a lonely and disengaging experience if it isn't designed well. And I need to emphasize, and I say this in all my classes, but I need to emphasize how we can avoid that completely and make this course feel every bit as interactive as a face-to-face class. For example, let's consider this webinar platform that we're using right now. It's called Adobe Connect. This is a really comprehensive web conferencing system, and it's hosted externally, thank goodness, on Adobe servers. That means it's really, really reliable. We can share files, we can share screens, audio, video. We can even participate in live polls. Of course, there's a chat pod too, which you've already found and used. We're going to use Adobe Connect in this course, not just for this orientation, but also for virtual office hours. Every Monday at 5 o'clock, we'll be in here waiting to talk to you. Remember, office hours are optional, but we'll be here. So if you have questions about anything course related, please show up and we'll do whatever we can to help. If you have a fast internet connection, feel free to use your webcam and microphone headset because it's a great way for us to create what researchers call presence, both instructor presence as well as student presence. Anyway, and obviously presence is a really, really important predictor of student success in an online course. This is a resource-intensive course, and it's critical that your computer is healthy. If you need immediate technical help with your computer, please call Student Computing Services. They have a hotline at 843-349-2908. They may not be able to help you with your homework, that's not what they do, but they're great at troubleshooting system problems with your computer, such as network connectivity, malware, installations, upgrades, and similar. So don't hesitate to give them a call if you need some help. Without a doubt, though, the best way to get support in this course is by participating in our online discussion forum. Each of you will be required to post at least 25 times during the semester to earn full participation credit for your grade. Most of you will probably far exceed that. And although I kind of hate holding the stick over your head like that by requiring you to help each other, I found that this obligated support model ends up taking a life on its own and eventually becomes a really vibrant support community. And you end up feeling really comfortable asking a question when you don't know something or answering a question when you do. And even if you aren't fully confident in your response, don't worry. I still want you to post because I'll always back you up and offer clarification if that's necessary. The discussion forum's always where, it's also where I'm going to post announcements. Anything about updates, course updates, news, whatever. So make sure you check it every single day. Of course, we all have email, but we're only going to use it in this course for discussing confidential matters, like I said earlier. If you need to talk about a personal issue that relates to the course, please use email. For all other course conversations, just post it in the discussion forum, where not only you'll get my help, or Dr. Browning's help, you'll get the help of your classmates as well. And often that happens a lot faster. So post to the discussion forum, please. So what are we going to learn in here anyway? The reality is video production requires a very demanding workflow. Not only are you going to learn here how to use a wide variety of different software and hardware to develop your instructional stories on screen, you're also going to learn an entirely new language filled with vocabulary and processes that you've never experienced, even though you watch TV every day. So our first learning outcome, demonstrate conceptual understanding of basic digital video tools, technology tools, systems, and operations. Our second learning outcome, how to apply principles of instructional design. You need to start thinking about this one right away, because the final project for this course is a 5-minute instructional video for learners in your professional teaching or training discipline. Your audience could be students, it could be teachers, administrators, athletes, healthcare patients, corporate employees, law enforcement officers, or anyone else with a specific need to learn something that could be effectively taught with video. So start thinking about this right away. Frame the entire course around what your final project might be. Learning outcome number 3, apply modern conventions of cinematography to the production of an instructional video for specific target audiences. I hate to be a spoiler here, but you're never going to look at television the same way again, ever. Because in this course, you learn the foundational artistic techniques that transform video clips into storytelling. And what you're going to find is that every little detail matters, from how a shot is framed, to the lighting, to the camera angle, camera movement, the audio volume, shot sequencing, edit timing, and on and on. There's so many small techniques that you're going to learn in here that make a big difference. You will never watch TV or movies again. Even though what you watch may not be instructional, the production techniques are the same. And sorry, I'm about to ruin it for you. But what you will come to understand very quickly is that video production is incredibly difficult to do well. But having said that, there are definitely certain fundamental production techniques that are essential to getting quality results. You're going to learn how to hold a camera properly so that you can steady the shot, not just with a tripod, but also using your body. How to ask the right questions to get an interview subject to speak articulately. How to design a 3-point lighting system. How to fill the frame of a shot according to the rule of thirds. And lots of other professional techniques. These are all used in major Hollywood productions. And guess what? They're going to work for us too, even though our budget, pretty much nothing. Learning outcome number 5, demonstrate competence in basic nonlinear post-production editing. It's time for reality check though. I hate to break this to you. There are entire graduate programs in post-production. So this course, we're going to limit ourselves to essential editing tasks only. And trust me, that's a full plate. We'll learn how to do cutaways, titling, J-cuts, crossfades, color keying, Ken Burns effects, and all kinds of other tricks. But just so you know, it's way beyond the scope of EDIT 640 to learn complex compositing, advanced animation, and incredible special effects. All the cool stuff that you see in Hollywood, we're barely going to scratch the surface of that. So we're going to, and we touch on that in other courses in the EDS program, but in the MED, we got to make the cut somewhere. And so we're going to focus on the fundamental stuff here. And I promise you, again, your plate is going to be completely full, and you'll be incredibly competent by the end of this course. Outcome number 6, how to deploy an instructional video to a specific target audience using appropriate technologies. This is a great question. How do you reach them? You build something, how do you get it to your viewers? More specifically, what devices are they going to use to watch your productions? Knowing the answer to those questions will provide guidance on how to compress, export, and share an instructional video. For example, we'll learn all the advantages and issues surrounding the H.264 codec and how it's different from an MP4 container file. We'll learn about aspect ratios, keyframe indexing, multi-bitrate streaming, and of course, how to publish video using embedded HTML code, all to maximize the quality of the playback experience for whoever your learners are. The reading load in this course is light, but I do require a textbook. It's a good one. It's short, but it's a good one. I've selected this text with one primary rationale. It's cheap. And as you'll see, the fundamentals of video production are really generic. It's not written for instructional video, but it definitely applies. So in my head, I can't justify asking you to spend a lot of money on a high-dollar textbook by a famous author. And trust me, they're out there. We leave those for all of the Hollywood film programs. The content in this text by Michael Hughes, it's really readable. It's extremely practical for guerrilla producers, in other words, low-budget producers. The text is currently not available in the campus bookstore because the store changed ownership. You may have read an email about this or not. but the bookstore changed ownership over the summer. They lost about half the orders, ours included. This is no lie. I'm not making this up because I was late submitting my order. I promise you this happened. Anyway, so ours was included in that mishap, but it's not a problem because most people just get it online anyway, and you can get it from Amazon. And if you get the Kindle edition, it's super cheap, $14. Are you kidding? It's a great value. So you're not going to spend much on a textbook, but I am going to ask you to invest in a great editing tool called Premiere Elements. It's sold by Adobe as a bundle with Photoshop Elements, and teachers get a great discount. The entire bundle only costs $79, but if you're really stingy, you can just get Premiere Elements for $69. But for the extra $10, who wouldn't want to get Photoshop as well? So I recommend you get the bundle. It works on Windows and Mac computers both, but I need to emphasize that this course requires a powerful software editor to be successful, and Premiere Elements is that editor. If you think you can get by with Movie Maker and iMovie, you're about to enter the house of pain. Premiere Elements is the product that we're going to teach, and you're expected to acquire it. The trial edition is not going to be sufficient either. It also watermarks everything, so you only get 30 days, so you're not going to be able to use that for the entire course. You will need to purchase this software. If you choose to use another platform, if you want to go rogue, please know that it may not have the functionalities you need, and more importantly, I will not be able to provide you with technical support. You are on your own, and if history is an indicator, your grade might suffer a little bit. So do yourself a favor and get Premiere Elements. Please be advised that's what we're standardizing on for the platform in this course. Some of your productions may require capturing the screen, trimming, and then editing the file for continued editing in Premiere. Even though that's not the real focus of this course, that's more what we studied in EDIT 630, how to develop really good multimedia screen capture and video integration projects. Your final project in here might have a little bit of screen capture. It's expected to be primarily video based. But if that applies to you, then we certainly recommend Camtasia. Version 8 is the current shipping version. It has a 30-day trial, but there's no watermarking. So if you decide that you need this, make sure you time your download accordingly. In other words, I'd probably save it toward the end of the semester. Premiere Elements has a powerful text editor, but it's probably worth mentioning that all the popular presentation apps like PowerPoint, Keynote, Prezi, Powtoon, they all can generate files that easily integrate into Premiere Elements into the project timeline. In this video that you're watching right now, for example, I created the slides in PowerPoint and captured the animations using Camtasia, and then I composited myself on top of them using Adobe Premiere. You're gonna learn how to do all this, and it's really, really fun. Sometimes it's helpful to have standalone audio editing apps. Both Audacity and GarageBand, in my opinion, have much better audio cleanup tools than Premiere Elements. So don't be afraid to use these, especially if you're recording and editing narration, or maybe it's interview audio, separate interview audio that you want to layer underneath some B-roll. We'll learn about what these terms mean later on. I may have just confused you there. Don't worry about it. Just know that these two editors are very powerful, and if you have a need for complex audio editing, sometimes it's better to use them and then export a finished file that you can then composite back into Adobe Premiere. And we'll look very carefully at how this can be done later on in the course. There are some specific hardware requirements for this course, and some of these you may already own, but just so we're clear, you need a modern operating system, at least Windows 7. Windows 8 will work. Windows 10, it's kind of unproven right now, so we'll see what happens. I'd like to think that Microsoft really got it right this time and fixed the problems they had in Windows 8. We'll find out. Mac OS 10 or later, no problem there. You need a camera, and this is really important. If I were you, I would think very carefully about using your cell phones. If you have a recent mobile phone, either Android platform or iOS, I think you're going to get great quality video. Some of you may have an SLR camera. If you have a real nice photo camera that you use, it may be able also to shoot high quality video. You may want to check to make sure that it can also capture audio, especially using an external mic, because you have to get an external mic for this course. The odds of you being able to shoot your entire project in an acoustically perfect room using the built-in microphone in your camera, very, very slim. You're going to want to spend just a little bit of money and get a lavalier mic, and I've got some really good ones identified in the course discussion forum. I suggest what you should get. Go ahead and knock those out as quickly as you can. They're not very expensive, but they're going to result in much better audio. So make sure you consider making that investment very, very carefully. Your final project, if it's shot using a built-in microphone in your camera, 99 times out of 100 in previous projects, students have lost a tremendous amount of quality points on the rubric for their project if they tried to get away with using the built-in microphone. They just aren't good enough. And we're not asking for a lot of money here. You're also going to need a tripod, and we have a lot of students who just kind of fabricate their own, or they just use their camera tripod. If you're capturing video with a tripod or using a tripod and your cell phone, you have to have a cradle mount. A lot of times you can be inventive here and just duct tape it to the tripod, or come up with some other Gorilla Grip type flexible application for attaching it to the tripod. I'll let the inner engineer in you figure that out, but the bottom line is wobbly video is not going to be acceptable in your final project, and it's only going to be accepted in the first couple of homework assignments, and then I stop being forgiving and you're going to lose points. So you're going to have to figure out a way to steady the camera. Viewers will not tolerate wobbly video, and they won't tolerate junky audio either. So you're going to have to figure out a strategy, an affordable strategy, to get an external microphone and how to steady your camera. And I have lots of suggestions for you. Again, these are all covered in the modules, as well as there's a few listings in the discussion forum right now if you want to go ahead and get started on that. Let's talk about the course workflow. Okay, this is really important, and we'll demonstrate the course here in just a second, but basically we follow a calendar, semester calendar. We do one module per week, and that simply means that you watch the video presentation. You then watch some tutorials where sometimes we'll demonstrate this. Sometimes we have guest tutorials that are linked or related to our textbook, and some of those are really excellent. And then we also have some model homework videos that were created from previous students. So you'll have all the information you need to then create and submit your own homework video. And then after you submit it, you obviously are going to want to watch what your classmates did. So we have a very public forum that we use within the course where everybody can see everyone else's homework submission. And what ends up happening, and this is awesome, this is one of the coolest things about this course, there's so much dialogue that transpires between the person who created a video and then all the people who viewed it. It really is a wonderful experience being able to interact with everybody and to learn from each other. It's very contagious sometimes, watching how the socialized learning here realizes itself in the type of discussion forum, the way we've got it structured. So I look forward to that, and you'll see what I mean once we get involved. But again, all you're really doing is one module a week. You watch a presentation, you watch a tutorial, and then you create something for homework, and then comment on the other submissions from your classmates. As always though, you have to make sure to check the discussion forum, because that's where everything happens. Where all of the troubleshooting happens, it's where all of the announcements happen, it's where all of the updates happen. So you have to check the discussion forum every day. Don't just go to the homework threads, go to the discussion forum, because that's where the critical dialogues often take place, and you want to be informed. So make sure you check that every single day and answer the questions of your classmates if you know the answer. Don't just wait for us. This is the way we keep the dialogue in this course very efficient. Let's talk real quickly about the course assessments. There's a test. There are 10 homework submissions, so 10 weekly homework submissions. There's one final project video. That's the bulk of your grade for this course. Very high stakes event, very detailed rubric for scoring. And participation. Note that participation carries a heavy load as well. You can't hide in this course. You have to talk to your classmates. There's no other way around this. If you try to lurk in this course, unfortunately your grade is going to suffer. You've got to get your 25 posts in throughout the semester. And what you're going to find is that you're going to far exceed that. Once we get this whole, it sounds cheesy, but this whole community sensation rolling where people are talking to each other in a very interactive, dynamic way, 25 will go in just a few weeks. But just know that I have to hold the gun to your head here. I've learned this over the past. You have to do that to make this work. Let's talk about a few policies. Everything's due on Friday, basically. Finish your homework submissions and post them by Fridays at 5 p.m. This gives me gives us the whole weekend to look at them. And typically, I like to get most of my grading done on Monday morning. So by Monday afternoons, hopefully most of these assignments will have comments that you can expect from us written there, as well as comments from the rest of your classmates. And often we'll let the students post comments throughout the week while you're building this, so you get some formative assessment. And then after the submission is actually posted, then we'll come in behind and provide some summative feedback. And that seems to work pretty well. Note that if you submit a homework assignment late, there is a 50% deduction. I hate to be draconian, but if I don't do this, then students just walk all over you because there's always an excuse. So you're going to have to tighten up here. Everything in this course is sequential, and we don't want you to get behind. The only way to make sure or to ensure that this stays strategic here is to impose some rather punitive penalties for submitting late. Obviously, we understand that sometimes life gets in the way, so if there's a personal issue, contact us via email, etc. But just know that if you miss the Friday 5 p.m. deadline, the assignment score is going to be cut in half. Now, having said that, if you get a bad score on a homework assignment, not because it was late, but because you made some mistakes, or maybe you misunderstood the assignment, or maybe you just had a bad day. If you got a bad score, we want to reward students who are willing to put forth some effort to improve. So go ahead and submit a revision, and we'll give you half back whatever you lost. For example, let's say you got an 80 on a homework score, and we gave you some detailed feedback on how to make it better. If you submit a revision to that 80%, we'll give you 10 points back. So you could boost your score up to 90 points simply by posting a better revision. So we want to reward people who are willing to make the effort to submit at least to try to improve. But again, we're very punitive for those who lurk or those who try to slack off. You can't do that in a production-oriented course, especially an online production course. You'll fall too far behind. So there is a method to this madness, I promise. I know it sounds harsh, but we have to do this. This is what we learned in previous iterations of this course. We've talked about the minimum 25 discussion posts. Enough said. Please make sure you get those. If you ignore those, again, your final grade for the class will suffer. All right, now it's time to take a real quick virtual tour of our course website. Let me go ahead and switch over to a browser here. When you log into the course, the first thing you'll see is probably this graphic and then whatever text update I've got up here. Currently, it's notifying everybody about the orientation webinar. I know you all have already seen this. It will eventually get replaced with some text that reminds you that we have online office hours every Monday at 5 o'clock. Underneath that, we of course have links to the stuff that you would expect to see. The course syllabus is posted, so make sure that you read that, download that, read that very carefully. Then of course we also have links to the discussion forum as well as the final project forum. And we keep the final project forum separate because of how the very end of the course is handled, and I'll explain that when we get there. Next, you can probably figure this out. We follow, as I said earlier, a weekly outline. So every week or two we'll post a couple of the next modules. We're not going to post them all at the same time because we make updates and tweaks as we go along. And I don't want people to get confused here and think that this is a self-paced course. It isn't. If we go to a self-paced model, then we lose a lot of the value of the socialization and the student presence that gets created. So we follow a week-by-week strict schedule with strict deadlines, and I promise you this works really well. So anyway, our first week, you can see we're not doing much. It's just the orientation. Make sure you get the textbook, make sure you get the software, get your computer squared away. For the second week, you can see that we have a module, and when you click on the module, it brings up the module objectives. Then you'll have a video that you'll have to watch. That's the presentation video. And occasionally there'll be tutorials embedded in here as well. In this case, this is a very long tutorial about Adobe Premiere Elements. and you're expected to watch that entire presentation. It'll take a while, it's a couple hours, but it's very thorough and will give you excellent foundation for how that program works. And then in future tutorials, you'll watch me demonstrate what you have to do for a lot of the homework videos. If I back out, underneath it you'll see this is where your homework assignments go. So every module will have underneath it a homework assignment, and we'd like to number them logically. So this is homework number 1. In homework number 1 you'll read the directions, but this is the only really reflective assignment you have. The rest of the homework assignments are all production based. But I find that usually it helps to start with a general instructional design type of assignment where we're looking at individual frameworks for how instructional videos are set up. So anyway, so basically your job is real simple. Just read the homework assignment and do whatever it asks. And then when you're finished, you'll click on this submission button down here and post it. And once it's finally posted, you can only post one assignment, but once it's finally posted, then you can go back and look at everybody else's. And actually you can do this before as well. But you can go in and make comments. And that's where, again, this socialized learning process takes place. And it's really a lot of fun. So make sure that you engage in conversations with your other classmates. So that's it. It's real straightforward. We just go top down, week by week, one module per week, one assignment per week, and then we'll have a few other things that we'll need to work on. For example, the final project forum, you're actually going to make several posts in here. Let me click on it and bring this up just so you can see what I mean. In the final project forum, you'll see the deadlines on the left-hand side. We don't want you to start cold turkey with your final project. It takes a tremendous amount of planning, and what we've got here is basically a template on how to get from the very beginning of this course to the very end with a fantastic project in the can. And there are deadlines here. You'll understand them as we go through the course, and I'll remind everybody in the discussion forum. But please know that this is in addition to your 10 homework assignments. You will also occasionally have to post something in your final project forum. And this is really cool. It's basically a blog format, and it will allow you to keep a record of your production evolution through time. So you start with just an idea. You're going to brainstorm, and then we're going to write up a treatment, and then we'll modify that and make it a script, and then we'll come up with a shot sequence that you want to use, and on and on and on. And what you're going to see is that video production is highly formulaic, and the planning process is critical, and that's why we formalize it in its own separate project forum here. So that's it. That's the course website. Let me flip back to the presentation here, and we'll tie this all up. All right, let's go ahead and conclude this orientation with a summary of strategies that have helped previous students. First and foremost, please read the syllabus carefully. That's our contract for the semester, and you have to have a clear understanding of all the expectations, all the deadlines, and all the policies. Be disciplined about your study habits. Spread them out over the week. These modules can't be crammed in a night. That is so undergrad. The assignments require you to create lots of video shorts, but any production process, no matter how short, always requires advanced planning. So please find a workflow rhythm that can accommodate your personal and professional schedules. Make sure you check the discussion forum daily. That is, without question, the greatest resource in this course, where we help each other and we solve real problems, especially technical troubleshooting. Above all else, though, please share what you learn. Post your triumphs, vent your defeats, and tell us all the details. This isn't easy, but it's fun. Don't just say, I figured it out. Tell us how. And post any links or screenshots that might help others who experience this similar problems. We're all in this together. This is how we build presence and community in an online environment. No one gets left behind because everybody shares what they know. I meant it when I said earlier that I consider it a privilege to be your instructor this semester. Video production is a passion of mine, and although it's incredibly time-consuming, when the curtain draws back and the show begins, it's really gratifying to see your visual work impact your target audience. I look forward to this creative journey, and I know that Dr. Browning does as well. But make no mistake, there will be plenty of technical agony along the way. You're going to blow up your computer at some point. It's inevitable. But you'll have to roll with that. Don't let it disable you. I trust, though, that in the end, after this is all over, We'll suffer some pain, but in the end, the design frameworks and the production techniques that we're going to practice are going to result in videos that will tell really effective instructional stories. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you online.